Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and in this video what I want to do is show you one, how to use SBT, which is the Scala build tool, and two, how to use Zio, which is a very, probably to me, like the easiest to use HTTP library as far as making HTTP servers that I have used yet in Scala. Trying to see if I can find one that kind of is as friendly to use as things I would see in like Python, JavaScript, Ruby. Not quite as friendly because typing, but certainly friendlier than some of the ones I've tried in Scala so far. And Zio comes pretty close as pretty straightforward on how to use. Okay, so let me just clear this, and we'll just kind of walk through the steps. And also just want to introduce you to working with Scala build tool. So just a little context, Scala is a language on the Java virtual machine. So that means you can use multiple build tools with it. So that means you could use sort of like the traditional build tool for the Java virtual machine, particularly Java, which is Maven. Sort of the popular alternative is Gradle for like Java and Groovy and Kotlin stuff done in those languages, although you could use, I think, Gradle and Maven with Scala. But then there's also the Scala build tool, which is built specifically for Scala. Okay, and Scala, the name stands for scalable language. And it's kind of like now in Scala 3, it's sort of tried to just be even more syntactically friendly with the extreme flexibility that the language has already. So I'm going to create a new folder called Project 3. Okay, because just done a couple little iterations on this, and I'm going to open up this folder. And in this folder, first you have to install SBT first off. So if you don't have Scala, if you don't got the Java virtual machine installed, you don't have SBT installed, install those. A really useful tool for installing them is a tool called Corsair. And with Corsair or Corsair, you're able to kind of install them all with one tool. So I would recommend looking into that. You could also install them separately, but you do need them all installed. Okay, so basically you should be able to run like, you know, Scala -- version, although again, either 2.13 or 3, fine. And if we're talking about SBT -- version, okay, just to get back versions of all these things. Okay, and then of course like the Java virtual machine, so we'll say like Java -- version. Okay, so I actually have a couple different versions of Java installed, but basically the default one is going to be JDK or Java 11. Okay, cool. Just so you know, those 3 things you need to have installed before doing what we're doing today. And you should be able to run those commands, see their versions, and you're in good shape. Okay, but I make this folder, I'm going to create a file. Basically, if you're familiar with like JavaScript and package.json, or Python and using like a requirements.txt or a pip file, or using Ruby with a gem file, or Maven and Java with like a, pom.xml. I don't know what the particular file would be for Gradle, haven't used it yet. But you get the idea. Like every language, every build tool, every package manager has this file that tracks like the project. In this case, we're going to use build.sbt. Okay, build.sbt is going to be that file. And here you can kind of define your project. The cool thing about like the way the SBT file works is that it uses like a dialect of Scala. So you essentially write Scala to define the project. So it's kind of like if package.json was written in JavaScript to define your project, which makes sense to me. Like that seems like, why not? Okay, versus using like JSON or TOML like in Rust, where it has like the cargo.toml, or using like a YAML file. I'm trying to remember who uses a YAML file. Like I know YAML file is used by like a lot of frameworks, but I thought there was a language that uses YAML as their way. Like Go has the go.mod, which is kind of its own thing. But the idea is that in this case, they aren't using some sort of like standard configuration file, they're using the language itself. So now that I have this build.sbt, there's a couple things I want to put in there, so I'll just kind of look at the one I did previously. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to just define this function here, basic lazy value, which means it's lazy evaluate, which means like that code that defines this variable will not run until the variable is actually used. Okay, so that's always what it means, like lazy evaluation. Okay, so just going to copy that. So we're going to say like lazy val root equals, and we'll just compare. Okay, and then we're going to start off with like this, which is basically just saying like, hey, where is the project? So we're just saying, hey, it's in the folder. Okay, so okay, project in file dot. Okay, and then we're going to set the settings up. Okay, dot settings. Why doesn't it like my string? Oh, it needs to be in parentheses. There we go. Okay, and then in settings, here we can start setting up all of our project settings. Okay, so now if you're not familiar with like a lot of how like, so basically if you use like Python and Ruby and JavaScript, usually the library names just have names. Okay, and there really isn't much about like avoiding like library name collisions. In the Java virtual machine world, so this is like Java, Kotlin, Groovy, Scala. Basically, generally what happens is there's an organization prefix, and then there's like the project name. Okay, it does make your imports a lot more complicated, but it can and sometimes make it a little bit easier because then you kind of know where things are coming from and kind of everything kind of relates to each other. But essentially, what happens is that you might want to know what is my organization name. So typically, you start with like a com and then like the name of the organization. So I'm going to set that up. So organization equals com.alexmerced. Okay. Other things we're going to want to define. The name, that's going to be the name of the actual project. So that'd be like the name of the library if I were to publish this as a library. So name equals, we'll just call this practice project. And then you're going to put a version. I'm not going to include the version at this point, but you could put a version if you wanted to include a version number of your program. Not all of these things are required every time, but not a bad thing. Scala version, that's going to tell what version of Scala you're using. Okay, I will just use the 2.13 version since I already referenced it, 2.13.7. So 2.13.7. So that way it knows which version it should look for. Okay, and then dependencies. And then dependencies, what's going to happen is that you can use a tool called Scaladex. Okay, so Scaladex is the tool that you're going to want to use whenever you do look for Scala libraries. In the same way, there's like npm.js and so forth. Okay, so here we go. So if I go to Scaladex, okay, you get to this website. You can like look for whatever libraries you want. Okay, I think I already have one open for, yep, here for Zio. So this is the page for zio-http. This is going to be the HTTP server library I'm going to be using for today's video. Okay, so what you do is you just go over here and you can find the proper line for depending on what package manager you use. So if you were using Maven, here's like the XML for Maven. Here's what you would put in for like Gradle. And then apparently there's like Mill and M, which are build tools I'm not familiar with. And there's SBT. So I would copy this over because I want to use that as my build tool. Okay, and then I head back to my here, and you just copy this line, which I'm going to head back over here. And then just copy that line. If I want to add another library, I just hit comma and paste the next library, the next library, the next library, the next library. Okay, and that's just going to make it available for this project. Cool. So that's what I need to do to make that available for this project. Okay. Now the only thing else I need is I'm just going to need a main file. Well, let's call it server.scala. Okay, and let me just make sure it's in the right folder. So let's move that right over there. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of copy like the format of this just so you can see. Like basically what we need to do is we need to create an object. So I need to import these three libraries. So now this is about Zio and how to use Zio. So I need to import these three libraries. These are going to give me the tools that I need to actually like create the server. And what you're going to do is you're going to create an object, a Scala object, which is different than a class. So a class is like you actually define all the properties and methods, and you can instantiate multiple instances of the class. An object is more like a JavaScript object where it's a singleton. There's some cool stuff where they kind of overlap, where you can use them in conjunction with each other. Not so much a Scala syntax video, so I'm not going to quite get into that. But the idea is I'm going to define this object, give it whatever name I want, and I want to extend this app because this app has like all the main method already built into it and all these things you need to kind of start up the application. So I'm just going to sit here and just say object, and I'm just going to call it server extends app, and then give it curly brackets. And basically just a couple things I'm going to want to define. I want to define this value called app. This is just going to basically be my list of routes. So I'll just kind of copy this shape here just to save some time here. But essentially I'm defining a variable called app, and I'm using this http.collect method, which is collecting essentially a bunch of requests or responses to requests, which is really just a big case statement that's going to detail how I respond to different messages. So let me just create one from scratch. So let's say like in the case of method.get, so if it's a get request, okay, let me just make sure how I'm spelling get. Yep, get's all capitals. Okay, then I am going to check what the URL is. The 2 bangs or exclamation points, this represents the root URL. Okay, so think of slash in like pretty much any other framework. And then I can be like, okay, slash, and we'll say like cheese. Okay, will be the URL. Okay, and what that's going to do is that that's going to end up doing the following. Okay, what I'm going to return is the following. Okay, which is going to be like HTTP, and I think it's what response. Oh no, it's just response.text. And there's like response.json, and there's a couple other ones, all in the documentation for Zio. But response.text, so I'm just doing a text response, and I can say, hey, I'm responding with queso. So I'm responding with some text, could be responding with HTML, whatever. Okay, so I send my response. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to override this run function, because essentially when you run the server, this, again, because you're extending your essentially inheritance, extending this app object, which already has a run method, but we're defining our run method so that way it runs with our settings. Okay, and basically we don't have to define a main method because the main method's already built into that app object that we're inheriting from. So we just have to make sure we define these 2 things and we're good to go. Okay, so in that case, I'm going to copy this from this example. But again, essentially we're overriding, so the keyword is say, hey, we're overriding this method. Okay, so we're overriding the run method because we're defining a new method. Okay, and then just getting an arguments is just a list of strings because it's just all the different arguments from the command line. Okay, and then here is just some stuff that's more specific to this library. Okay, as far as its typing that's required. And then here all we're doing is we're just going to take the server and start. And I'm just realizing that, hey, since there already seems to be an object called server, I probably shouldn't call my object server. So I'll call it my server. That's probably going to run so we don't run into any issues. So I can change what port I start this on. So I'm going to try and change this like to port 444. This is just passing this app value so that way all the routes are registered with the application. And this is just enabling so that way I can exit it with like a control C and all that stuff. So that's all the code you need to create the HTTP server. And now all I have to do is type in SBT. That's going to be so I can run the build tool. And that's going to run SBT, and it's going to start like downloading the library and stuff like that. Then I can click run, which will compile and run the program. Okay, and then I see it's running and says running started on port 8090. Okay. I'm not sure if it's going to be actually working on 444, and this is just like a standard, like response. So that I can override somewhere, but let's just test this out. First, we'll go to localhost 444/cheese. Nope, so maybe it does still use 8090. 8090. Yep, and there it is, queso. So by default, it's using 8090. I probably do need to do something else to like change this. Okay, because I didn't quite change it there, but you guys get the idea. Okay, but that's how simple it is to use SBT. Like literally, you just create this file, and then you just put in the settings for your application, as far as like dependencies, and there's other cool things you can do that I'm not quite familiar with yet. And then with Zio, it's that easy to create an HTTP server. So far, this is probably the simplest I've seen, as far as just writing up your basic like, hey, hello world, or basic like one route server. And the documentation seems pretty attainable. Like I was playing with a couple other ones that seemed like they're robust, but some of the typing is fun. Okay, which it can be really interesting. Like the typing in Scala is really interesting in the sense that it can make your life a lot easier in a lot of ways, but you really have to understand like how it's working with like implicits and givens and all these kind of things that allows a lot of dependencies to be injected in the process without you having to like explicitly inject them. But then when you're learning the thing, it can be really difficult because you're not sure what's just being sort of magically injected. There's a lot of like things just magically appearing, so you do have to have like a solid understanding of like how that is working to take full advantage of this. This doesn't have too much of that going on, so it's much easier to like um, use it. Okay, makes it really straightforward to use because you don't have to like most of the stuff I can kind of see what's going on. There is a benefit to explicitness. Although, again, one of the reasons why that's awesome about Scala with implicits and givens is that your code can be a lot less verbose, but still very strictly typed with that. But, you know, things I'm still wrapping my head around. My name is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy.